Welcome, everyone, to People on Dating. I'm your host, Will Morales. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this podcast is about the ups and downs of dating and how to navigate through it. And today, my guest is Suzannah Weiss. I had her on before. That episode will be up in another week or so. And Suzannah is a sex relationship therapist and a feminist author. She has written 2 books on sexual empowerment. The first one is Subjectified, Becoming a Sexual Object, and Eve's Blessing, Uncovering Lost Pleasure Behind Female Pain. Suzannah is also a sexologist and a certified sex educator. Suzannah, thank you again for being on People on Dating. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Today's a good subject. It's confidence and lasting love after a breakup or divorce. But before I get into this, so tell a little bit about yourself. What was your journey like to become an author, sexologist, and a certified sex educator? What was that journey like for you?
Growing up, I wasn't taught very much about sex like many people. My sex education was very minimal. And so I just had a lot of shame around sexuality, a lot of body shame. I struggled with disordered eating. And it was really in college when I first took a sexuality workshop and studied gender and sexuality studies that I learned how empowering it could be and how much it could help you love your body to embrace your sexuality and embrace a sexuality that's for you specifically. And so I started writing about sex and relationships when I was about 24
Mhm.
and that took off. And I also started getting many cool assignments, which is the subject of my book, Subjectified, going to clothing optional resorts, women's sexuality workshops, sex parties, etc., and
Mhm.
learning how to experience more pleasure in the bedroom. And I wanted to help other people with that. So that's when I became a therapist and sex educator. And yeah, Subjectified is about my journey in my own sexuality. Eve's Blessing is more about women's journeys with pain and pleasure and how women's
Mhm.
pain is normalized and how women are overcoming this today. Yeah, that's the snapshot.
No, that sounds good. So, and like I said, today's subject, it's about finding love and confidence after a breakup or divorce. And you know what? I'm glad that you on because um I've talked to a couple of my female friends. Some of them are in my age in the 50s and some are in their 20s. And it always seems to be, and since you're the expert, Susanna, after a breakup, it takes a little while to get back on, as I said, back on the horse. I had my share of breakups where it took longer than expected to get that person out of my mind. Is that is that a valid reason for not getting back onto the dating scene because somebody, let's say, broke your heart or there's something you can't get over that person? Is it normal to wait that long, or some people can get back on the horse within a couple of days?
I don't think there's any time frame that you need to wait. I think often, you know what they say, the way to get over someone is get under someone else. It's kind of funny, but it's true. If you are stuck in this state of heartbreak, it's hard to see what else is out there. So once you start to see that, you can gradually begin to move on. And what's important is just being honest. If you are wanting to move slowly, which is a good idea, especially if it was a big breakup like a divorce or you were together for years, then just be honest and tell the person you're with, I just went through this. I'm still emotionally recovering, but I am looking to move on. Let's just take it slowly.
Yeah. Now, okay, so let's talk about that though. If you got the other person that you being told that to, now does the guy or the girl, do they want to wait? In your experience, is that a valid reason? Can somebody take that as a valid reason and say, well, okay, she's been through a breakup, a bad breakup, she wants to wait, she wants to take things slowly. But there are some guys out there that think it's a cop out, that they just don't find this guy attractive or the girl attractive. Is that something that we should? Okay, I see you smiling.
Well, I don't think it's a cop out because if you want to
Okay.
take it slowly, it's usually because you want to actually get to know the person. I mean,
Yeah.
you wouldn't invest that much time in someone if you didn't like them, but it's up to the other person. If they're in a rush to settle down and the other person's saying, I only want something casual right now, then take that in and don't invest in something that's not what you want. But
Mhm.
in general, I think taking it slowly can mean many different things too. It can mean not having sex right away. It could mean not becoming official right away. So I would get clear on what each person's goals are. And if someone's willing to compromise because they really like the person, then that's their choice. If they're not, that's also their choice.
No, I definitely agree there. So, Susanna, what are some steps that people can take after, and I want to talk about breakups mostly because I've never been married or anything like that. I'm not sure if you have. I never even asked you. But with breakups, again, there's some people that can move on quicker. There's some people, for me, and for instance, on two occasions, Susanna, I had my heart broken. I really liked this girl, and it took me a while to get over it. But I have friends and activities that kept me busy. Is that something that we should do, at least to try to get over that person? Try to find some activities or something to keep us busy and get our mind off of that last person? Does my question make sense at all?
Yes, the impulse is often to close ourselves up in our room and cry, and then we don't realize how much of difference it makes to just call a friend and get your mind off of it or get someone else's perspective or someone else's soothing words. I also recommend prioritizing self-care, taking baths, going on walks, whatever feels
Mm,
good to you. But definitely don't isolate yourself because there are people who want to support you and help you move beyond the breakup. And often what's so challenging about a breakup is a loss of human connection. And so you can fill that hole in your heart partially through friends, through meeting new people, through activities, etc. But also be gentle with yourself if you're just like can't stop crying and can't make it out, just listen to your body and your heart.
Okay, that's a good point. So you get into that little depressive mode, right? That you're crying or you're upset or you don't want to go out. Uh, do we rely on our friends to give us that call or whatever? Because if we're not in the mood to get out of bed, now we got to hope that that one friend gives us that call and maybe motivate us. Is that something that we should look out for too as well? Maybe get some motivation from some other people, or like you said, hey, we just like if to get over someone, we got to get under someone.
Right.
Again, I guess it depends on the person, right? Because I guess there's no one easy answer. Because if for me, it took me a while, but I was much younger then. Again, I don't want to make an excuse.
Yeah, if you're someone with a tendency to self-isolate, you could tell your friends, if you don't hear from me for a few days, please check in on me.
Okay.
Please call me, please text me. And yeah, because everyone has their own preferences. Maybe you do need the alone time, but if you're someone who tends to take excessive alone time, then I would communicate that to other people so they know that it's okay to call you, even if you don't answer the first time, or even if you don't reach out yourself.
Okay. So what do to get out of that depressive mode, right, and to gain our confidence back. Let's talk about that, gaining our confidence back. What are some ways to gain that confidence back? You think that maybe nobody loves you, or that last person is you thought is the end all to be all, and they leave, or you just have a mutual agreement to break up. But how do we gain that confidence, and how do we make it last? Because with the subject today, I think that's important, especially getting that confidence back.
Yeah, often a breakup is an invitation to reinvent yourself. Many people have an
Mm,
urge to do something like get a new wardrobe or a new haircut or even move. I think that's a great opportunity actually to do whatever things that you've been wanting to do, but weren't able to do when you like spend a night, I don't know, going to a club or things that single people do that you couldn't do while
mhm.
in a relationship. And a lot of people actually have a boost in confidence because they go out, meet new people, and they're more themselves. They realize how much they gave up of themselves during the relationship and they live more for themselves. So just think about all the goals you might have put off because of the relationship, all the things your partner might have stopped you from doing, all the things you maybe always wanted to do but didn't have the time for. And if your partner was someone who put you down or criticized you, again, I would talk about it with your friends because they might have a different perspective on it and know that, breakups bring up a lot of rough feelings, a lot of hard feelings. So if your partner did something to undermine your confidence or said something that made you feel unworthy of them, know that they might have felt unworthy of you and they might have lashed out because they were
Mm.
very emotionally triggered. Don't take it in.
Wow, I never thought about it that way. So, if someone I guess one of the things I've heard from other people, and I can't say this happened to me, but if someone's gaslighting you, saying it's your fault, you did this, you weren't there when I needed you, now you start doubting yourselves. I mean, and we got people that unfortunately do that. Again, now that person is making you doubt yourself. So we do the same thing, just meet people, calls people, and just try to get that confidence back by again going out or finding activities, because now we got someone that's trying to gaslight you, which is to me so horrible. But yeah, go
Mhm.
ahead, because I can see your brain going. So go ahead. What would you say? Because I don't know how can I get out of it if I get gaslighted and I'm thinking, oh my God, it's all my fault.
That's again why it's so important to talk to other people and get an
Okay.
outsider's perspective. Definitely talk to a therapist, a coach, some professional, as well as your friends, because you have to decide for yourself what feedback you want to take in. If your partner says,
Mm,
you weren't there for me, maybe you weren't, and maybe that's something you want to change. Or maybe your partner was controlling and expected you to be there for them in ways that were unreasonable. Or maybe you just had different values and nobody was right or wrong. If your partner had a pattern of manipulative behavior, of putting you down, criticizing you, then that is a sign that you shouldn't take in what they're saying. And if they communicate in an immature way, just saying, you're so messed up, and play the blame game, that's also a sign that they are not really giving you objective feedback, but are just lashing out. So it just really depends on the situation. And if you're not sure what was your fault versus your partner's, what you want to change versus what you want to never change because there was nothing wrong with you, you have
mhm.
to like reflect within yourself and, seek the help of other people you trust to get an objective perspective.
Yeah, I always counted on friends to be there, and what also helped me out was I played sports, so I would play softball, football whenever the relationship ended. So I kept the activities going, but the problem was, Susanna, is that if I'm playing, let's say baseball, and I'm out in the outfield by myself, all of a sudden now the mind starts going crazy. I'm not concentrating on the game; I'm concentrating on the person that I broke up with, or she broke up with me, and I can't let go mentally. There's ways, like you said, there's people that we could talk to and try to get, back on, back out there. But if now it's messing with your mental state, again, how do we move forward? Because that happened to me on two occasions where I just couldn't stop, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, every time I looked at TV, there was always something romantic. It was a commercial or something, and it just reminded me of that girl that I lost.
Mm.
So that's the question. Like, how do we get that mental picture of that ex away from us once we're alone?
You may not be able to do it right away. And, I would recommend if you can't get rid of the feeling, leaning into it. Don't try to avoid it. Just sit with it.
Mm,
Do something nice for yourself. Sit in the bath or go outside or go to the spa and just feel what's in your heart. And you might, at a certain point, if you just sit with it and you ask yourself, what am I feeling? Why do I feel so bad
mm.
about this? Is there maybe even more than just this one experience behind that? Am I being affected by self-esteem issues that I might have had even before this? And at some point, you will probably cry and get it out. If you can't avoid it, then there's something that's looking to be felt.
Okay, so we got to self-reflect and okay, I that's to me a great point, because I know the couple of times that happened to me, I didn't reflect at all. Only time I did was this last one I had, which was 5 years ago, and I started thinking, okay, what did I do wrong? And it wasn't as much as I was in love with her, Susanna. It was more that I had a financial stake in a business that we both created, so that bothered me more. But I look back and I said, okay, this is what I did wrong. And I don't know if too many people do self-reflect on, whether it was something they did or something that they didn't get their partner to do or something. I don't think we self-reflect a lot. Is that something that maybe in your practice you've seen, that people don't just generally self-reflect and become self-aware? Again, if I made any sense at all.
Well, breakups can be so tough that people often want to avoid the feeling. So
No.
they might,
Mm,
and that's where um that's where it could be unhealthy to just jump to your next relationship. If you're doing that to avoid the scar on your heart that your last partner left, which may have even been there from the previous partner.
mm,
So yeah, that is human nature, I think, to avoid really difficult feelings. And that's where it's important to enlist professional help if you can. And yeah, to like make sure that you are actually there's nothing wrong with going on to another relationship, but make sure you're not using it as a mask. Make sure you're not using it for external validation, because that's where a lot of
um,
the wounds of a breakup come from is I'm not good enough for this person. So if you feel not good enough for your past partners, you're probably still not going to feel good enough for your future partners. So look at that, where that comes from really. Often it's our parents, our early caregivers, maybe our siblings, maybe our peers.
mhm,
And understand that they also had their own motives for putting us down or criticizing us, and just learn to set boundaries and make sure that you let people in who treat you nicely and speak to you nicely. And that can be practiced while you're dating. Dating can be practiced for that, saying no to
mm.
people who make you feel bad about yourself. But it also might take time to even realize where your boundaries are and what is and is not okay with you. And that's okay.
All right. No, I like that. I listen to me. You hit it on the head. It's to me, it's self-reflecting, taking your time. You know, the boundaries. I think a lot of us don't have boundaries, and I think that's a good one. Setting boundaries. First of all, Susanna, you know, I love having you on. This is the second time I have you on. I would definitely want to have you on again. Before I let you go, talk more about your books and what was that labor of love.
Yeah, so my latest book, Eve's Blessing, is sorry, is about women's pleasure and pain and how society tends to normalize things like period pain, pain during first time sex or sex in general, childbirth pain, which actually not everybody has. There are movements, the ecstatic and orgasmic birth movements, which I
Mhm,
interviewed women who experienced this. And my goal was to just paint a better future for what living in a female body can look like. I show how women can have better sex, can have positive experiences with menstruation,
mhm,
shatter some myths about things like that periods have to hurt or that everyone has to go through PMS or other experiences women are expected to just deal with rather than resolve. And yeah, I interviewed many other women and also told a bit of my own story with my sexuality and with chronic illness.
mhm.
And yeah, that just came out September 15th. And you can look for that on Amazon. And yeah, same with my book, Subjectified. That one came out last year. You can find that on Amazon. And that's about my personal journey to sexual empowerment and
Mhm.
the objectification of women and how women can stop feeling like objects and own their sexuality in a way that they are the subject, the driver of their sex lives and their relationships. Yeah, check those both out. And also check out I'm offering sex therapy and psychotherapy. So please contact me if you're interested in that.
And where could people find you if they wanted to get in contact with you?
www.suzannahweiss.com. That's spelled SUZANNAHWEISS. Or if I'm on Twitter, Suzannah Weiss, Instagram, Suzannah Wise, like the word. Or just Google me, Google the books, I'll show up.
Yeah, I'll definitely put that on the show notes. And Susanna, before I let you go again, a last word on people that want to get back, as they say, back on that horse. Any last word you have, or any advice?
Don't assume that the next relationship you have is going to look like the last one. Don't try to find a replacement for your last partner. Go through actually what you liked and disliked about that relationship, and you might find the universe is bringing you in another direction. There may be things about that relationship that you liked at the time, and now you're evolving into a new person, and now you might want something completely different. Or you might And you might rethink some of the values that you had before. And just you may be so surprised by how worthy you can feel when you take better care of yourself, when you communicate to others what you want and what you don't want. And just envision the most ideal version of yourself, whether that's like 10 different men bringing you roses and you're trying to decide between them, or whether that's like I don't know, you're a dream girl saying that she wants to give up, her life of singlehood and is just so into you that she wants to make you the center of her life, whatever it is. Um, envision that for yourself. Take the time to envision the ideal situation and know it may not be too good to be true. Take steps every day to get there. And that usually starts with valuing yourself and communicating your desires. And your dating app profile is a great way to do that, to list exactly what you want and what you don't want. And you might be surprised by who is willing to accommodate your desires once you're very clear on them.
No, sounds good. Well, again, Susanna, thank you so much for being on People on Dating and taking time out of your busy schedule. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.